I just hit the go live button. So
Look at you.
So I can start doing that.
I had to do my bedtime with my kiddos. They were fighting it tonight.
It's because they're older. They know they can take advantage of daddy.
Well, they don't have school tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah. They've got days, like some classes or teacher development days. So a little bit of excitement. I'm taking the day off with them.
Yeah.
Lots of fun games planned.
I see.
So,
Dang it.
that's how we do it.
Okay, let me grab the link. There, so Corey's already shitting in the chat. Don't be afraid to be harsh. No, Vigo has to play it a little safer.
Wow.
Oh boy. Okay, just give me a second here.
I think with Bob, you don't have to worry too much about playing it too safe. When he admits to bag skating the team basically today,
Well,
he knows they deserve it. We'll talk about it. Don't worry, Corey.
Tweet, text, and then Facebook.
Maybe now that you've got it set up this way that you can't have people chat until you start it off there, Connor.
I have no idea. I just went ahead and said something just in case because obviously something was broken last week.
Well, apparently,
I was wondering why it was so quiet.
Steve, apparently, same thing. Weird. Need you to say something to start.
Okay, I got to tweet this. Where's my tweeter?
Did you see I did a poll to see which beer I should drink tonight?
I did. Oh, boy. Okay, tweet is there. There we go. Now I just got to do a...
Only 8 votes. I'm a little disappointed. 16 minutes left.
There was no none of the above.
Well, these are the 3 that I have available.
I know. I'm just giving you crap. There we go. I'll post on Facebook. Posting. There we go. Go back to. Well, that seems weird, Steve. That the whole thing of live. I don't know. I just did it when I first turned it on after a few seconds. So, okay, this time I'm actually going to hit record. I had to do the Zoom one last week because I was too stupid to hit record.
It's not because you're not talented enough.
It's just that's debatable.
That's a miracle line for you, Cotner.
I know. Just throw them down the middle, why don't you? Okay, are we ready to go? Here, let me do one thing here. There we go. Latest. Okay, there we go. Got that going. All right. Gosh, already a lot of stuff in the. Okay, I don't know. I have no idea about the chat, Steve. All I noticed is like last week nothing was happening, so I said something, and then all of a sudden it worked. Fuck if I know. I just don't know.
Funny story. I had a call before availability today.
Yeah.
And earlier today, I was messing with the cat filter thing just to see I wonder how hard that is to turn off. And as I was about to join availability today, I still had it installed on my computer.
Oh my gosh.
And so I figured that they were starting off the availability with questions about, the Wisconsin series, and it could be kind of tense. So I was like, oh boy, better get that off here quick. Make sure I don't have cat filter on when I join. That would
or something awkward. like a beard.
Yeah, something weird.
Like this. There we go. Something like
Yeah.
that. Or maybe just a stash. Put some eyebrows on there. Oh, yeah.
That would have been kind of funny.
That would not have been good, dude.
No, I luckily I'm pretty sharp with my IT. I'm not a old lawyer who has an assistant who uses a CAD filter.
Oh, boy. I think I've got them all turned off now. I don't see anything on my face. I think I'm good.
All right.
All right. Recording. Let's start the show.
Let's do it.
This is the GPL podcast, sponsored by Jerry Peters and First Class Mortgage. Our expertise, your peace of mind. Visit us at firstclassmortgage.com. Now, here's Jupe and Vigo. Good evening and welcome to the GPL podcast, episode number 187. Well, Vigs, wow. I'm not really sure what to say. That was ugly against the Badgers. Sure, Friday night, they played okay, much closer game than the score of 4-1. Saturday, what can you say after that weekend, Biggs?
Well, we can tell why no guests wanted to be on our show this week.
Well, plus I didn't ask anybody.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a tough weekend to take away. I think going into the Wisconsin series, we knew Minnesota hadn't really been tested when they played Arizona State. It wasn't a weekend where, you look at what the Sun Devils are going through and you just go, that's not really a good test. Ohio State, not really a good test. You're coming into Wisconsin, a team that's playing really, really well right now. You knew the speed limit was going to go up. What we didn't see coming was all the little holes in their game that we'd seen in the Notre Dame series and in the Wisconsin series earlier this year showed up. And once that happened and they fell behind and they had some trouble to deal with, they didn't handle it very well. And you definitely saw panic creep into their game. And the goals just started piling up in bunches, at the end of the first game and then midway through the second game. And it didn't end well.
And if you think about it, I believe every first shot went in. So the first shot Friday night, Cole Caulfield, breakaway, goal. Saturday, first shot on LaFontaine goes in. The first shot on Mo goes in. The first shot on Close goes in. That's a lot of first shots, Vigs. Obviously, by the time Close got there, the game was not close at all. But Friday night, starting the game, you're jacked. Before you know it, Cole Caulfield is behind the defense. And what is LaFontaine supposed to do there to probably the best player in college hockey?
Well, he's a first-round pick, and he's a first-round pick because of his shooting ability, because he's such a dynamite offensive player. He's not a first-round pick because he's 6'3", plays a 200-foot game, plays the center position. That's not his game. His game is to be in there as a winger, create opportunities, and pounce on them and give your team scoring help. He's on the team because he's a really dangerous power play threat, not only at the college level, but probably at the pro level. He looks like he's got the skill set that's really going to translate there. And when you're in a tight college hockey game, like the Gophers were with the Badgers, you have to be aware of when he's on the ice, and you cannot turn the puck over in the situations they were turning the puck over to Caulfield and Holloway, because those players will bite you. And we heard about that from the coaching staff in the postgame. They're like, when you're playing ASU and Ohio State and you turn over the puck there, you have enough talent to negate the chance.
Yep.
When you're playing against guys like that, you just can't give them opportunities like that.
The sad thing is that I would say over the years, the Gophers have done pretty well defensively against superstars. I mean, you can go back to some all the big guns. It seems like Minnesota always was able to kind of keep those guys down a little bit, not have big weekends. And then you look at Holloway, and how many points did he have Saturday? 5?
5.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty good. Pretty good night.
Pretty
Get
good.
healthy.
Yeah.
When you play ASU, you might get a healthy night where you get a couple points. Didn't expect to see that against Minnesota.
Play Minnesota, get the same thing. Oh, jeez. It was just, and the funny thing is, I get people going on Twitter. Of course, I deserve it because I just set myself up all the time. But it amazes me how many Gopher quote unquote fans just say this team's embarrassing. I mean, they're just terrible after every single loss. And then you have other fans every time they win, it's like they're the best team ever. And the funny thing is that I want to say 2 or 3 former Gophers even like replied and liked that tweet that I mentioned that, it's people are just like, relax. Yes, there's concern. Yes, it was an embarrassing game, but this is not an embarrassing team, Vigs. Nothing even close to that.
And it's college athletics. I think that's one of the things that goes on at the college level is there is this inconsistency to their game. They're not always going to be perfect. They're not always going to be on their game. The key is that these kids have to figure out when not to make mistakes. And you heard that from Scott Reedy after the game. You have to be aware of who's on the ice for the other team, especially when there are players like Holloway and Caulfield, and you can't give them offense. Yes, we want to play hard. Yes, we want to take advantage of our opportunities that are before us, but he knows enough to say, percentage hockey is the smart play. And I think we saw that at the end of last year when they got away with a great weekend against Notre Dame in the playoffs and sent them home for the season. They played the game the way it had to be played for them to get a win. It wasn't the most entertaining style. It wasn't the style that was going to give them the most points and put them in position to be all conference and things like that.
Just win, baby. That's all that matters.
Winning hockey. And yes, these players are still developing and they're trying to figure out how good their game is. But there's places to do that and places not to do that. And a big weekend against Wisconsin where you're fighting probably for your NCAA tournament bid and your conference title potential, and you throw it away by making turnovers in those situations, it's going to get you skated on Monday practice.
Yeah, it's boy, I'm not really sure how to react. I mean, I was just kind of smiling all weekend, like going, yeah, it was bound this to happen eventually here, Vigs. But what was also disappointing though was another weekend of like 2 goals total, Vigs. That's very similar to what happened against Notre Dame. But Notre Dame didn't have the scoring punch, obviously, but Wisconsin did. And then Saturday night, the biggest loss for Minnesota by total goals since how many years? I mean, we were getting ready for post game with the coach, and there's Jess Meyer saying, "Let me know your number when you figure it out. When you keep going looking back in the books, because you had to keep going back to what, CC in the mid '90s or something like that to find a big of loss."
Yeah, 1994 to CC, and they lost 9-2. And I went back and I looked at some of the quotes from after that game.
And Royce was there, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, Royce wrote a column on it, and he basically called out, the fan base. He started the column with talking about Vikings fans and Twins fans, and but don't forget about Gopher hockey fans. He's like, after they got off to a 6-0 record, the Mariucci faithful said, "There's a feeling we'll never be out of a game. We've just got so much talent." And they went going, and they went into CC and got clobbered 9-2. And at that point, Woog said, we've got these players. They're older players. If they're not going to produce for us in games like this, maybe we should turn them into defensive players. Maybe we need to go into a left wing lock and shut everything down and play low scoring hockey And maybe that's how this team's going to win. And it's kind of interesting. You look at that roster, Brian Bonin, Mike Crowley, and they did go on to a Frozen Four. So there definitely was like a show me week of practice after that weekend where they figured out a way to play winning hockey. And maybe this weekend can have a similar impact with this team. You know, as Bob sends the message on Monday, he said, you know, we owed the program an hour. Based on the way we played this last weekend, we owed the jersey, the M, all the history of Pride on Ice an hour. And they skated and they got Tuesday off. And today they refocused and said, okay, how do we move forward? And I can't wait to see that this weekend because they need to reset. They got to realize that they're not a team that's going to win 6-2, 6-3. And that's the kind of style they play, especially when they fall behind. And we saw that panic to their game. We saw the panic on the power play where pucks are being juggled. And I've had a lot of conversations this week with the Gopher fan base about all this stuff. And it's not that they don't have talent. It's just they haven't played from behind a lot, and they really just didn't handle it very well in the Notre Dame series late and then this Wisconsin series.
I can't disagree with you there. It was, well, yeah. The funny thing is that that's kind of one thing a lot of people were saying. You know, yeah, for half the season they hadn't, been down in a game, much less lost a game. They started out, was it 10 straight victories or something like that? Since then, they're 500.
Well, and look at who they're 500 against.
Yes,
Michigan, Wisconsin. The Notre Dame, some of the better teams in the Big Ten right now. They have mopped up the bottom of the conference. Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State. They're averaging like 5 goals a game against those teams. Randy Johnson had this in his story, and it's like 2 goals a game against the top of the Big Ten conference. So it's a tale of two teams right now, and they've got 4 weeks left here to try to figure things out. But you watch their team; they're not a fancy team. They're not. They have some players who can do some nice things on the rush, but they're not going to be able to do it on their own. When this team was playing really well, I think we saw Reedy and Ranta just playing off of each other really well.
Mm-hmm.
They were on the same page for checking. And Johnny Sorensen had some nice insights today. He said when he looked at the film, there's things that we do when we're a good team. We're hard on the forecheck. There's 2 guys on the puck. There's 3 guys in the TV shot.
You mean a lot of team play instead of individual play?
Exactly. I went back and I looked at the first period of the Wisconsin game Saturday, seeing like what kind of response they're going to have. So many times, first guy late to the dance, puck gets moved. The second and third guys aren't there. There aren't 3 guys in the shot, so there's no pressure. So it makes it really easy for Wisconsin to get going the other way.
And that's the one thing they were doing even against, a team like Michigan earlier this year. We talked about this all throughout the beginning part of the season. The pressure they put on when they come into the zone, whether if they dump it in, they're on that puck. There's somebody there causing the defenseman to have to react quickly, and someone's there to either, take it up off the boards or whatever. And now that was completely gone because, Notre Dame and Wisconsin figured it out. So, and maybe also, like you said, they weren't playing as a team, weren't playing the team game, just too many individuals out there, not hustling a lot. And it shows because those type of teams, obviously, the Notre Dame's not going to come at you with offense, but Wisconsin did, and it really showed up, especially Saturday night.
Well, and one other thing I've noticed a couple times is that there are players out there chasing that second possession. So they go in on the forecheck. They aren't successful. They don't get to spend any time in the offensive zone. They have to backtrack. And then either there's a turnover in the neutral zone or kind of a quick one in the Gopher defensive zone, and they get a chance to go on the attack. Sometimes as a player, you have to go, you know what? I'm going to fold my way to winning Hold'em. I'm going to go to the bench. I'm going to let the next line get a chance. But what happens when they chase another scoring chance is they're chasing a hand on the river. If it doesn't work out, then they're out there a minute 15, and they got to go play defense. They got to do some back pressure. And I just don't know if they have the legs to do that.
And boy, It does, but that kind of brings you right back to day one media day at Mariucci Arena with Motzko. I want 30 seconds of hell. Something along those lines. I want them out there. I don't want them out there a minute and a half. I want them out there busting their ass and causing havoc. And that's kind of the key to success. And when you don't do that, you see what happens, Viggs.
Yep. And they just got into some bad habits. And that can happen with college players. I thought, coming into this year, they had so much returning veteran talent, especially at center, that this team was going to be in real good shape to take what they've learned, the experience they have, and make a push, especially after the start they had. But, even with veterans, some bad habits can creep in there, and it's hard to find your game back, especially when you panic and you get away from what's made you successful to try to make up for it. And we'll see how this season turns out. But, in the couple moments of adversity here against Wisconsin and Notre Dame, it hasn't been great.
No,
I thought they answered the bell a little bit in Madison when they came back the next night and played better. We'll see if they can respond this weekend, because they sure didn't on Saturday. That first period, I rewatched again, like I said, and they were just late to the dance at all the forechecking opportunities. And then in the second period, the game kind of got away from them as they fell farther behind.
I know, as Corey's mentioning on the YouTube chat, he says we need some more guys that can fly around and check somebody. And we've seen with other teams, have a good physical game, clean physical game, can really kind of inspire the team. And it has been a little light on that against those teams, Viggs. The physical play.
It can be, but it's got to be in the right time too. Jackson Nelson's trying to be physical and send a message on Tarek Baker. It's in the wrong time.
That is true. You can't. Sorry, you're gone.
It's college
inexcusable.
Hockey. It's college hockey. You can't go into a guy like that in that position. If the guy's coming up the rink, you're probably able to make that kind of contact with him, but not the race to the end wall like that. But there are guys that are trying to do that, and sometimes they get caught in trouble. We've seen that with Perbix a little bit, with Brodzinski a little bit, with Walker, McLaughlin a little bit. They're trying so hard to make something happen that sometimes they commit those penalties at just the wrong spot in the rink.
Well, it turns out, Viggs, now they do not have control over their destiny, and we've talked about the key being, you want to be in the tournament, you're going to have to be in first or second place. Now they're in second place. Badgers are in first place for the first time by themselves since 2006. If they get swept this weekend, Notre Dame will tie them in the standings. Obviously, take the tiebreaker because they would have beaten them 4 times straight. And I guess, it's out of our hands. We're rooting for Michigan this weekend to beat the Badgers. It wasn't that long ago where they had a pretty sizable lead in the Big Ten, and now it's gone.
Yeah, we're just looking for a split out of those teams. If you're a Gopher fan, you're hoping for some splits around the league. You're hoping for Minnesota to maybe extend their period to stay with it and in contention as we go down the stretch here. This is a team that's got plenty of talent, and you'd rather have them get this wake up message now than 3 or 4 weeks from now in Ann Arbor. Or wait, it's at Mariucci, right? So,
the end of the season against Michigan is at Mariucci.
You would like them not to lay an egg that weekend and all of a sudden have to deal with all this. You'd rather have it now with some time left on the schedule to sort things out, get the message sent. If they did skate really hard on Monday and take Tuesday off, hopefully they're able to build in enough recovery where that kind of message sending practice doesn't impact them down the line. If you do that to them after 8 straight weeks of hockey, it probably has a different kind of impact. So it's probably a well thought out move by the coaching staff on how to handle it.
Well, let's see where the team goes from there. We're going to get into talking about Notre Dame and a few other things here. But first, we need to hear from our sponsor.
Hey, fellow GPLers. This is Jerry Peters from First Class Mortgage. Interest rates are near all-time lows and property values are on the rise. Lower your interest rate and remove monthly PMI at the same time to save thousands of dollars. Or use the equity in your home for debt consolidation and home improvement. The housing market is still hot, so make sure you're prepared by getting a pre-approval letter from me before you start shopping. Mention you heard about me on the GPL podcast and receive a $300 closing cost credit. Some restrictions do apply. Call me today at 612-940-3291 or visit firstclassmortgage.com to fill out a free online application. My NMLS number is 480200. First Class Mortgages is 322842. This is not an offer to lock into an interest rate agreement under Minnesota law. First Class Mortgage is an equal housing lender.
All right. Well, always thank Jerry for sponsoring the GPL podcast. Well, Notre Dame kind of started all this not too long ago, Viggs. And then they came into Mariucci and swept Minnesota. And now we head to Compton Family Arena in South Bend, which has actually not been a house of horrors for them too much. I mean, they did lose a playoff game there a couple years ago, but it's not like they've struggled mightily at that arena.
No, and my 8-year-old still talks about that horrible penalty on Tyler Sheehy. It was very questionable. Poor kid.
It wasn't questionable. It was the wrong call. I mean, it's just,
when a 6-year-old can see that it's a wrong call, to share that next time I talk to an official. But they have played pretty well against Notre Dame in the past. I think Notre Dame plays a style, whereas if Minnesota as a team have their heads on straight, they will have the opportunity to create offense. It's not a program that's going to forecheck you really hard. Now, sometimes Notre Dame has changed it up a little bit and has upped the pressure that they have and apply. But I don't know if we'll see that this year. They do have kind of a younger team. They've had some kind of up and down crazy scores this year for Notre Dame.
Yes.
It's been a little strange.
Giving up a lot of goals at times.
Yeah. And I don't expect that to happen this weekend, especially with the way Minnesota's coming off last weekend. I think they should be playing more cautious. I don't think, they should double down and keep trying to trade chances. You saw Bob Otsko in his coach's show say, well, in that third period, we outchanced them 7-5 and they scored on all 5 of theirs. I was like, I'm not quite ready to drink the Kool-Aid that says that's what you want to do and that's how you want to play. Just saying, don't start trading chances with the other team's best players. Now, I don't think Notre Dame has the kind of players that Wisconsin has to capitalize on scoring chances.
But they can shut out. They can shut you down
for success.
Yeah, they can shut you down better. And the thing is, if you get a couple goals on them, you that may be all you need against Notre Dame. But the problem is we've just struggled getting the couple goals. And they get frustrated. And maybe it is more of that. Hey, we need to stick to the plan, stick to what Motzko is preaching to us. Get out there and work as a team, pressure them, cause them to make the mistakes. And like you mentioned earlier, when you do that, you're successful. And they have been successful against Notre Dame previously. And what Motzko said earlier this year, he took the full blame on the Notre Dame series. He's like, I didn't prepare them. These losses are on me. Well, I can guarantee you he's going to do his damn best to prepare them for this week, especially after what happened against the Badgers.
Yeah, I don't think he put the Badger series on himself.
No.
No. He mentioned, there's a saying in coaching, you get to kick the trash can or shoot the bullet only 3 times a season. I think you only get to fall on the sword as the coach 1 time a year as well. So, I think this weekend they're going to be well prepared. And I even asked him today, do you tell the players to put the yellow light on the fancy plays? And he basically didn't say it explicitly, but he's like, we've got a red light on fancy plays. He's like, the only time fancy plays should happen on the rink with our team is after you've competed hard and you've won a puck and you've created chaos. That's when you can make something fancy happen. When there's chaos and teams are out of their structure because your blood's pumping, you're at the top of your senses, you're just reacting, you're using your talent. You're not trying to make something out of nothing. And too often this year, you see players trying to make something out of nothing. And it comes back to bite you more times than it helps you.
Well, we've seen this over the years, the frustration of, like you said, trying to make that extra pass, trying to hit the top corner. Boy, is this weekend a garbage goal weekend. This is one of those weekends where Ranta close into the net is going to get a goal or two. And he has to think that way. He can't just be doing all these wandering all over the place. We need to get shots on goal, shoot them low, get some rebounds, garbage goals. That's a recipe for success. Because, I start yelling at the TV, you have some kid taking a shot from an angle, trying to pick a corner, and where it goes, Vigs, around the corner and out the other end where there's nobody covering. So for me, the key this weekend is definitely teamwork, garbage goals. Just get shots on goal and see what happens.
And the other thing is stopping on pucks. That's something that Motzko and Johnny Sorensen said this week. You can't do flybys. You can't just kind of swing in and swing out. You have to, if you're going to the net, stay there. Don't just swing around or peel off, stop on the puck. If you're making a check on somebody, I was going to maybe put some clips together, but I chose not to. But there are players who are engaged with somebody on the forecheck, and they could maybe stop and make a play on them and eliminate them, but they just keep swinging by, and there's just wide open ice then. So you got to stop on pucks and make it hard for the other team to break out. You can't make the game easier for them. So it'll be interesting to see if they're ready for that style, because I know Notre Dame is going to try to get the red line and chip it in and be hard on the defense, because that's something, Jackson Lacombe talked about the last time they played. Is he said, it was a little intimidating. Every time you're skating backwards, you knew you were going to get hit. And that's one of the hardest plays for a defenseman to make. And I think even at the start of the year, Motzko was a little worried to see how his young defenseman would handle that kind of pressure. Because if I'm Jeff Jackson, I'm like, Mike Kester, Jackson Lacombe, Ryan Johnston, you're going to get hit a lot this weekend. We're going to dump pucks in. We're not even going to try to be the first one there. We're going to put you in the glass. They're not going to put you in the glass and take a penalty, but they're still going to get hit. So that's something to watch this weekend as well, to see how well the defensemen handle that pressure, because it's coming.
It is. Oh boy, it's. I just don't know what to expect right now, Vigs. I keep thinking, predict sweep. I'm not even thinking that this weekend. Even after last weekend, when I'm like, sweep, I meant the Badgers. Yeah. So I'm kind of struggling because we just don't know how they're going to react. We hope they react the right way. And like you said, you can only kick down the garbage can a couple times a year. And because from what I know, Lucia used to try to do that a lot too. Or he'd let Gensel do the yelling. And we know during those last few years, there was a lot of yelling going on because it just wasn't working right.
Well, there's the old Jacques Lemaire line, why don't you yell at the players? Why don't you keep yelling at the players? He's like, well, sometimes you yell at the players. Sometimes they yell back too, Then you got a real problem.
Oh boy, I don't know. Corey's asking any updates on the goalie situation from next year. He says the kid from Cornell would be a huge, but is it realistic? And that kind of relates to also Tim Hapke asking on Twitter earlier today. Do you think the Gophers will replace Laffer with a transfer goalie or just stick with Mo? What are your thoughts on goaltending next year, Viggs? Laffer's gone. Or we think he's gone. I guess he could stay, couldn't he?
He could stay.
Technically,
you never know what's going to happen. Technically, he could be back. Who knows? I don't know if he would do that. The one thing I will say with Jared Moe, Bob has not been super kind to him over the years here. He's been quick to call him on goals like he let in on Saturday. When he comes into a game and he's not sharp on the first shot, or when he gets a start and lets in a soft goal, sometimes you hear a coach go, he's just feeling the puck and, it's a tough situation to come into. Bob hasn't treated him with kid gloves. So it's been kind of sharp criticism tossed his way. So I don't know what to read into that other than it's got to be a little uncomfortable. And I don't know if Bob would let that situation be a risk for next year, because if you don't have good goaltending, it's going to be tough to win the Big Ten. There's just so much talent now in the league, and a non-conference schedule that Minnesota hopes to play. There are no easy games to work someone in. You can only play Niagara so many times. You're going to have to play the Duluths and the North Dakotas and Mankato's, and you're going to get in the Big Ten against Michigans and Wisconsin. It's going to be difficult. A transfer does make sense because any player this year can get a free year basically and play that extra year. So maybe the Cornell goalie, like Galeta, he's very accomplished in the ECAC. Wisconsin tried that, didn't work out so well, but he wouldn't be coming here to play all the games. He would just be there as an option, for Mo to compete with. Motzko does like the closer. He said, I wouldn't be surprised to see him see the net again, which kind of surprised me.
We hope not, because that means Laffer had a bad game.
And it means he doesn't have confidence in Mo. So what does that do then? It gets pretty tricky. Mo's got a lot of skills.
Does this go back to last season when he was alternating and Mo really struggled at the beginning of last year? He would let in a lot of first shot or first tough shot goals in at the beginning of the season. And that was his first experience, as a Gopher. I mean, do you think that it could go all the way back to then? And then, funny thing
I don't know, because when they came back from break, Mo played pretty well in January and February.
Yeah,
like he
wasn't
wasn't
when he first started. Yes.
Yeah. The first couple of games, it took him a while. And, you look at a goalie like Dubnyk, very technique focused, they're big guys. They play their angles. They play their gaps. Timing comes into that a little bit when you're playing that style. And if you don't get that kind of look in practice and you get in the game and everything's faster, as much as teams say they practice hard, they play faster and harder in the games. It can be a little bit different for a goalie. And he might be a guy who needs some work to be sharp. He hasn't looked great sometimes when he's not played for a while and then comes in. That just could be what you're dealing with.
Boy, I was just looking on Twitter, and Sal Paradise asking Gophers are 11th in the pairwise, almost borderline NCAA tournament team. I just want to, I want Sal to call in and be on the show. Does he not know there's no pairwise this year?
I know he's not a very dedicated fan. How long has he been following this program? Like weeks? Is he on Gopher Hole instead of Gopher Puck Live?
Maybe. Maybe he needs to turn prideonice.com back on.
Maybe we could do a rivalry.
There's no rivalry. He's too tired for that, I think. But okay, so you mentioned earlier that we'll have a non-conference season next year. Do we have any clue what's going to happen with non-conference? Is it going to be something whereas kind of these contracts, like we were supposed to go to North Dakota this year, will they just delay everything a year, or will they just kind of maybe take this year and tack it on the end of other years? Do we have any kind of clue of what they're going to do with kind of the pre-scheduled non-conference games that they've had in the past couple of years?
Frodo, what I can tell in college football, everybody just shifted it out a year. Because rather than have to pay the guarantees and deal with that kind of stuff, they just pushed it out. So I think that's what we'll see in college hockey. But TBD, this is the first time we've ever been through something like this that I've been alive for.
And like I said, we don't even know, what the game times are going to be for the last game of the season. Last games of the season, we still don't know. TBD, we don't know anything at TV.
We think the regionals are going to happen in 3 sites. Maybe the Frozen Four is going to be in Pittsburgh. Maybe they're going to have 16 teams. Maybe they don't need the 4th regional. Maybe they're just going to do 12 teams. Who knows? We have no idea what's going on. We asked Bob in the availability today. He's like, do you know what's going on with the NCAAs? He's like, nope. No, tell me.
Do you
tell me
guys
when
know?
find
Can you
out.
tell me maybe?
And then he had brought up on his coach's show. He's like, I'm not a big fan of 3 games in 3 days in the last week of the season with the NCAAs the next week. It's going to be hard on the players that go through that situation.
I mean,
So he
it
said,
happened all the
we're
time
talking about maybe.
It happened all the time in
But
the
it never
past.
turned out well. It never turned out well. The team that played 3 games in 3 nights, I think only one team ever won the WCHA Final 5 doing that. And then going on in the NCAA tournament, if you play 3 games in 3 days, you're going to be tired going into that because you got to travel out to a regional. You got all these other commitments. It's complicated. These are just college kids.
Yeah, they just want to play. They don't care. They don't care at all. But, I still see so many people complaining about television and everything this year. Sal must be listening because he's already replied. Yeah, there is no pairwise this year, Sal. There is no pairwise. It doesn't work without non-conference games. Maybe it's time to turn the television back on PrideOnIce.com. No more color bars.
And Hockey East is doing some sort of pairwise type thing for their conference standings. Did you see that?
I didn't read it, but they are going to do some kind of interconference. I don't even care anymore. It doesn't matter what.
Sounds like it's basically pairwise for a conference. So interesting.
Well, Steve's like, what the hell is there to complain about TV this year? Yeah, you know how people are. A lot of people, they can't stream Fox or FSN because FSN doesn't stream on Hulu or YouTube and all this other crap anymore. I literally had one guy who said, the reply to the University of Minnesota when they said they're going to be on Fox Sports North, that why 95% of your fans can't see games on FSN. I'm like going, are you nuts? I mean, seriously, are you that stupid? The amount of people who stream only on Hulu and YouTube is still not even close to people who have DirecTV, Comcast, Mediacom, whatever it has. I've got Jaguar, and I get the games just fine. And it's funny to me, Viggs, is that people have gone the exact opposite way. We don't want games on the Big Ten Network. We want them all on FSN. What do you really want, people? Because we're sorry, but people complaining at the U when a game's on FSN, shut the hell up, please, because FSN could just say, no, we're not going to carry the games. Then what's Minnesota going to do? Nothing. If a network's going to say, we'll carry the games, it's not like Minnesota's going to say no, Viggs.
Enjoy it while you can. They have more games on TV than any other college hockey program in the country. If you don't have...
In this season, all of them so far. One is going to be streamed. That's this Saturday. We're stream only, but actually, if you're not in this market, if you're like in some Chicago markets, you can see it on TV. And then we wait for the Michigan series. Has that ever happened?
BTN Plus, and if you have BTN Plus, you can get all the games there too. So if you're a cord cutter, just get BTN Plus and follow Minnesota. It's like an extra $15 a month.
It's nothing compared to tickets. It's nothing.
Right. We're very privileged with this program.
We always have been.
Take it in.
And you look at they set a ratings record on Big Ten Network, which is not the greatest, when they played Ohio State a couple weeks ago. This week they'll be on NBC Sportsnet or Sports Network, the network that's going away on Friday, and then on Saturday it's a stream only, but that stream is pretty darn good, Viggs.
Yeah, NBC Sports Network does a good job with their stream. I think that with their Premier League coverage, they've got a lot of experience there. They've got a good platform. It'll be great. It might even be pretty close to real time. We'll see.
NBC Sports Network is a much closer stream than some of the others, but
I might actually be able to basically live tweet the game rather than being so far behind on my streams that I have.
The best part is that I used to love the fans who complained back in the day that Fox or MSC, either Fox or MSC, they don't go to Houghton. They don't go to Alaska Anchorage. We don't sell those games. Yep. Then there would be times when they still had one network that there would be tape delayed. In fact, I would even put, Gopher Puck Live in the banner. I'd put tape delayed over the live part just to make fun of it. Every game you could stream, you could see it live anywhere. I mean, people talk about the good old days. Do they forget that the good old days didn't include a lot of games or had games that were tape delayed? I don't know.
You can look past it. You can look past it.
I just think a lot of these people are not real fans. They just want something to complain about. So
what else we got on Twitter?
Let me see here. Well, for us neophytes out there, how is the NCAA tournament field selected then? Well, Matt, aka Sal Paradise, that's the big question. We don't have an answer. The schools don't have an answer. We don't know. For all we know, it's going back to the old smoky room days where a panel will meet and decide who gets the tournament and who doesn't.
Bob keeps saying, don't worry, they'll get it right. I was like, well, we'll see. If you guys keep splitting down the road here, you might want to be one of the teams that left out.
Oh, yeah, we're poking fun at you, Matt. We're going to do that. We poke fun at anybody here. We're equal opportunity offenders.
Feel free to poke fun at us too.
Oh yeah, totally. We hear it all the time. We get thrown under the bus. I don't care. It's all good. You started this all, Matt. You started it with your little website. So we blame you for everything. Just like we blame Rick Pizzo for everything that goes wrong in the Big Ten Network. It's just a running joke. We just have fun with it. But yeah, NCAA tournament, we just don't know. We might not know for a little while. I wouldn't doubt if they just, you've got your conference champions, and maybe if there's a different, regular season champion, that's a good start, Vigs. And then go by rankings, which mean very little. Right now, anything we think of is just speculating. So we just have no idea.
Yeah, and they're not setting out any standards. And I think they're going to have a hard time getting a consensus of what standards should be in this kind of year, being the fact that the East is it's a mess this year. That's why Hockey East is doing this crazy pairwise thing for their conference tournament, because they're not going to be able to compare teams very easily objectively. So they're just putting that out there. So it's even harder to compare teams out East to teams out West. It's going to be a mess. I think if Minnesota wants to assure themselves a spot, win the conference tournament, or
just win
the league.
Yeah.
I don't think you can finish third in the league and not win the conference tournament and guarantee yourself a spot. Even with the first half Minnesota had. If they're third in the Big Ten and they don't win the tournament, the way they've looked against Wisconsin, I don't know if you can count them in. It's going to be tough to just count one weekend as a big negative, but that could very easily happen in a national committee trying to figure out a tournament, because they've historically been anti-Big Ten, I think, a little bit. Everybody loves the NCHC. They've had plenty of teams in because it's pairwise.
Yeah. So all the more important, win some games this weekend. Better yet, sweep the weekend. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to call a split this weekend, Vigs. I think that's optimistic, but kind of like how Cappy said a few weeks ago, if anyone's going to sweep, it's going to be Minnesota. I'm just going with it. Just going with it.
I don't know what we're going to see this weekend. I really don't. I worry that we're going to see more fancy pants hockey.
Oh,
I think we have some
don't
players
say that. They got to work. You got to work hard.
You got to, but I don't think that that's going to be taken out of them by one skate on a Monday. I think personally, with the modern athlete, the way you can get their attention is take away ice time, take away special team time. And I don't know if that's going to happen. If it does happen, like look at Torts, what he did to Laine this week. Laine talked back to one of his assistant coaches on the bench. Torts benched him for the rest of the game. Said, you can't do that. I know we've heard instances of players talking back to Gopher coaches over the last 5 or 10 years. I have not seen a player publicly just benched for a game because of that. If someone out there knows different,
we've called for it. We've called for a lot of players need to sit, and they never did sit.
Right. I think if you want to send a message to the modern player, that's one of your best ways to get through to them. If I see that happening when players start to do things that are fancy pants hockey that are costing this team some trouble, I will be a believer in what's happening. If I see them not even have to go there, then I'm convinced they've flipped the switch and they're going to be a competitive team down the stretch. But I'm waiting to see what happens. This is a big weekend for me in where to evaluate this program going forward. And it'll be must-watch TV for Gopher hockey followers.
I can't disagree with that, Viggs.
So I'm thinking split. I don't think this team has the consistency yet. I think they'll get a lot of learning lessons at the family arena.
Quick question. How do the players react to boards on opposite sides of the ice? We have that at Compton. We have that at Michigan State. Did you ever play in a rink like that? Does it throw you off when teams are on opposite sides of the ice coming on and off?
I think it's easier to see what the other bench is doing when you're on opposite ends of the rink. You can see,
that's good.
You know, what lines are coming up next, how they're positioning themselves. Usually, groups who wants to go out next, they shuffle towards the end. You get to see the other coaches, who they're talking to. Sometimes you can get some stuff that way. So I kind of like that if you're into that kind of stuff. I know Bob likes to just kind of roll his lines. That's one thing. I would like to see him try to match up lines a little bit more here and there, but it's just not his philosophy. He wants to roll his guys out against anyone. He'd rather manage fatigue levels than get matchups. I'm kind of a matchup coach. I want to put my top defensive pair out against their top offensive line, at least. I want my good centers out against their good centers. I'm kind of a strategic guy that way. Bob just wants his team rolling. So I get that. But I think when you're across, you can see that more. It's easier to coach.
I'm seeing a couple of mentions of Brodzinski in the chat here. Brodzinski, borderline D1 player. Hapke saying, "What's up with Brodzinski?" Well, you've seen the coach quasi discipline him at times, making him the extra skater, throwing him on the fourth line. He sat out a game or two.
He sat out a game, and he was told to watch and see, what's happening on the ice and get some perspective. He's done that with players at the bottom of the lineup, like Brodzinski and Nevers, to try to send micro messages. It doesn't happen in top players. Brodzinski, he's got another level to his game. He definitely needs to be stopping on pucks and being dangerous offensively. He made a really nice play on the Myers goal against Wisconsin where he got a seam pass, but there's also holes to his game too. He's got something more to his game, and offense that he has, you want to try to develop and you want to be patient with it. But sometimes maybe it's next year for him. He did come into the season with an illness. Maybe there's something to that as well. You never know.
Illness. Did he have COVID? They'll never tell us. Only one player's admitted to it.
You're right. But, Johnny Sorensen said today that, the team is aware that people are getting reinfected with COVID as these variants get out there. On the dry erase board this week, all the wild cases were well publicized among the players to let them know, hey, be careful. Don't let your guard down. Even though, we're in February and vaccines are coming out, we still have season left. And if we have COVID cases hit us, it could derail things. Because, the Big Ten, a little bit more stringent on when they allow players to return to action. So they're not out of the woods of this yet. The boogeyman is out there, as Bob said today.
Yes, it is. And like you said, it's affecting Big Ten games this weekend. Was it? Isn't Penn State shut down for the weekend?
Penn State shut down for the week. So boogeyman found Guy Gadowski's squad.
Yeah. I mean, it could happen to Minnesota. It could happen to any of these teams. Boom. Just like that. and mess everything up. So, I would say so far they've been very fortunate. Knocking on wood on that. Definitely got to.
I'm just hoping every game's a gift.
Yes.
Enjoy the ones coming up.
Exactly. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's GPL podcast. We'll be back next week to hopefully recap a much better series against Notre Dame than what we had against the Badgers. That would be great. And then we'll probably we'll preview the series with Michigan State coming to town. For those of you currently watching live on YouTube, stay tuned for some overtime. For the rest of you, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. All right. Sal is not happy with us. Or probably not happy with me. He's done. He's done interacting with us.
Good run. 20 years. 20 years of friendship thrown away over one podcast. Dude,
Yeah.
you don't feel good about yourself?
We're hockey guys. We give each other shit. It's what we do, Vigs.
It is
It's
kind of
what
what we
we-
do.
It's always what we've done.
Bus is going to back
the
up
thing
over
is, you know what? We have a year from now, we need to have a Pride on Ice reunion game because 2002 was the first year we had our first pickup game with a lot of people who don't play hockey anymore. I think it would be fun to get a lot of the gang, a lot of people who played in subsequent teams. Like you were on the POI team, weren't you?
I played in a couple skates. I was not on the POI team, not officially.
And
I played with them though.
Yeah, and I think it'd be fun to get the gang back together.
At Mariucci, or at least Ritter. I can get us an hour ice there. Maybe two.
It was always tough to get ice there because it was so damn expensive. Because you had
Well,
to pay the
just-
extra
we'll-
insurance.
We'll bite the bullet for this kind of event. We'll figure it out. We'll send Craig Floor an offer he cannot refuse.
Yeah, maybe we just got to butter up Floor and just say, hey, why don't we get on after the Gophers here?
Yeah. Intramural
I know-
ice can't take all of it.
Actually, I do recall, Enkin skating a few times after a Gopher game. The old Enkin Bears.
Mm-hmm. We can make it happen. Okay. I
I
got to
think
grab
it'd
my
be fun.
beer before I run out of time tonight. Portage, Brief Escape won my poll by a vote. Thanks everyone who voted. Be right back.
All right, there goes Viggs going to get his beverage. Sal, the last interaction with the GPL podcast. Come on, Sal. You still watching, Sal? Come on, man. Brever just showing up. Geez, where you been? Damn lawyer work. What's with that? All right, here's Viggs.
Kind of
There he is.
thankful they didn't pick the very shaky beer because that's 14%. Like that one?
Very nice.
It's kind of a classy
like I said,
little...
like I see that. As an old school person, there's only one place that had cans that big back in the day.
Foster's.
Foster's.
Oil can. Yeah, the oil can.
Basically, it was basically that size, though, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It was huge because no one else was doing it back then. And so every time I see a can that big, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. It's the old Foster's. Glug, 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 glug.
So, double dry hop, West Coast IPA, Citra Cryo, Mosaic Cryo hops. 7.3 ABV.
Wait, you didn't want to drink the 14?
I mean, I wanted to, but I'll save it. Maybe I might need it for Saturday. We'll see.
I wish. It's an early game on Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an early game. More time to drink a 14% beer after availability. Sometimes it's a hard wait.
see here. 4:30 p.m. game start time, so 6:30. I'm going to be working a lot of the weekend. It sucks.
Yeah, that My Pillow guy's taken off.
I'm still waiting to hear if we're supposed to shut down. I don't know if they paid their bills.
Well, he's
Seriously.
spending all his money on Fox advertisements. I was watching a little Tucker Carlson tonight, trying to catch up on what's going on. And I got a lot of Mark Cuban hate on the time I watched.
Oh, because of the national anthem thing?
Yep, that was the big focus. Tucker not happy in Mark Cuban.
Well, it doesn't matter. The NBA already said he's got to do it. So,
Right. When I was the Zamboni driver at Drake Arena, we used to hold these little summer league games.
yeah.
And sometimes we'd have little tournaments and things. And we had made it a mission of the rink staff to try to make sure the games went as fast as possible. So, because we wanted to get out on time.
Oh, yeah.
And so we had a national anthem that was literally 38 seconds. It was like this piccolo. It was like this piccolo anthem. Piccolo. And it was 38 seconds, and that was our anthem. And we'd get these coaches who were doing these games. They'd look over at us, and they'd go, golf clap, because they were so impressed with how fast we got that anthem done. And, like, our Zamboni resurfacer could do the ice in, like, 7 minutes. Me. Never crashed on the boards. Might have missed a spot every now and then, but summer, can leave it.
Wow. Fun times.
Yep. But yeah, back when I did that, I'd get to skate sometimes after hours, invite some buddies over, just zam the rink and lock up afterwards.
Did you do the skate at late in the season at Osseo back in the day?
I don't think so.
Where Gransky worked there?
Osseo is not really my kind of town.
Well, we had free ice. Gransky was not supposed to be flooding the rink. He was scraping it. So he scraped it down. So we played on that scraped ice because he wasn't supposed to be adding water because they wanted to be getting rid of it. So
yeah,
we did a POI skate at
dry
Osseo
shave
with the dry shave.
I did do that at Drake during the summer sometimes because they'd get condensation on the corrugated steel roof and it'd drop. And we get like stalactite kind of things going on the rink. And so you'd have to take out the bony first thing when you got there and do a dry shave to get those bumps out of the ice. Always scared me that I was going to break the Zam.
Okay, and I'm looking at the schedule here, Steve Larson. They could have a good weekend this weekend. Hey, let's see you get a split. Sweep Michigan State. Then the Demons come calling again, Viggs. Even though Penn State's not doing well this year. 2 at Penn State, 1 at 11 a.m. in the morning here.
Ooh, that's a tough ask.
It's a Saturday Sundays here is 1 p.m. and 11 a.m. But they haven't slayed the dragon there yet. They were hoping to do it last season. They played a couple good games there at Penn State. We're heading there. Then COVID shut everything down. So there are still Demons at Pagula.
Yeah, and Penn State's got that goofy schedule now because they don't play again until the 20th. So they played their last game on January 29th. They've been off.
Yeah, and then they got COVID.
Idle hands. Get COVID, I guess. Long break. Who knows what'll happen?
And that's what we were hoping for last time. We were hoping for last time because they had a bye the last week of the season.
Yeah.
They had a bye because they took first place, and Minnesota was heading in there playing pretty well. And
could have been a program changer.
And then at first there was going to be no crowd. So it was Minnesota coming into an arena of horrors with no crowd. And then it all got shut down.
Yeah. It was pretty funny. I remember last year at one point, I think it was Fleck who got an extension. And I was in the elevator with Bob. And I joked to him, so you gonna sign your extension here soon? He's like, old Bob needs to start winning some games. Biggs got to start winning some games first. He hasn't gotten an extension since he took the job. So he does need to start winning, right?
Yeah.
I think we're coming to a head right now with Richard Pitino, as he's winding down his contract without signing an extension. He hasn't signed an extension in 4 years.
Well,
Buyout's disappearing.
What has he done?
He's been a middling coach. Like this year, he could make the tournament. He made the tournament a couple of years ago, and then his top player got hurt, and then they got blown out, I think, by Michigan State. But he made the tournament and won a game. What's Bob done?
What? He hasn't been here very long, for one thing.
Right. I know,
but Tubby was doing a little better with his team. They won a game in the NCAA tournament, and he was fired.
Pitino's won a game in the NCAA tournament.
What I'm saying is that Pitino started with not a shit team. I thought Lucia put Motzko in a much worse situation than Tubby put for Pitino coming in.
I'm not trying to light the fire under Bob's seat. I'm just saying I'm not trying to light the fire here. We're in overtime. It's not that hot. I like Bob. I think he's doing a great job. I'm interested to see how this team responds.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm Mark Hoyle, I'm probably not signing an extension right now.
Well,
Lindsey Whalen got an extension.
For what?
For recruiting.
For being Lindsey Whalen.
Yes. For being Lindsey Whalen, for getting some buy-in from her team, getting some good recruits. Likes the energy in the building again. More season ticket holders, more fans. This would have been a great year for Gopher hockey, to see what would have happened to the arena. I don't know if that Wisconsin series goes the way it goes in a full building. It would have been rocking. You can say it doesn't matter and the players should step up anyway, but I feel like it would have had an impact.
I think it matters. It's just both nights I don't think it would have mattered because right off the bat, Wisconsin scoring a goal.
I just think that the issue with that series was not talent.
It was effort.
It's like when Herb Brooks is talking to the guy about, we got slaughtered by the, whoever, the NHL All-Star team.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, it's not because you weren't good enough. It's like we had the NHL's best and we were up against the Soviets and they wiped our clocks. Not because you weren't good enough. This team has a lot of talent. If they play the right way with the goaltending they have and the defenders they have, they should be right there. They have enough offense. Bob's right. You just can't give away the puck like they do. And you can't have one and dones in the offensive zone all the time. Like we saw the ceiling in this team when Reedy and Ranta were playing so well together. I wish I could walk back that conversation where I said, they're two of the best players in the last decade, but I said it. They looked like it. Got to walk it back down.
Well, it's hard to really gauge the players when you're only seeing them via Zoom too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you and I were both there to see the body language of a Justin Kloos when he was frustrated. You knew what was going on. And you knew it was really important for him. It's just tough to see that through, the Zoom and sometimes you see it a little bit. We had
Benny Myers.
He
was about ready to go after Jess.
He's
on Saturday.
He I don't know if you folks saw that last week. Was it the Friday? It was
Saturday.
It was Saturday.
It was after Holloway
Myers
had
asked
the 5
a question.
Points.
He ask about Holloway, didn't he?
Yeah, he said Holloway. When a guy gets 5 points like that, you got to tip your hat to him, huh?
He kind of goes, yeah. I don't really know how. I don't know exactly where's that.
He didn't say it the way you're saying it. He's just like, you could just see like almost a vein starting to form with Myers as he tried to formulate how he was going to answer this. He's like, I'm not even going to touch that one. He was pissed. He was pissed. It was like that Kloos line when we asked him or whatever. It's like, what do you have to say about the City Pages article or something like that? Remember that? And he's just said, no, I can't comment on it. No comment. And then after we were done, he's like, hey, when we get to the Frozen Four, ask me that again.
Okay, that was at the very end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let's go to the tape since we've got.
He doesn't ask the worst questions, but he's an interesting dude with those kinds of things.
Oops, let's do it this way. Oh, you're not gonna be able to hear it though. Darn, I've got it on the wrong. Bring it up on a different browser here.
I think you have to do share audio with the tab or something.
Well, no, my audio feed is not picking up Chrome as part of my channel, so I have to bring up Safari. I think that's the only way I can be able to hear it here. So I do that on purpose in case I have it up. I don't want the feed to pick it up. So let's see if you can hear this one.
Corey, by the way, Lucius is supposed to come back here in the next couple of weeks. So whatever lower body injury he had.
If you don't mind, we'll take an opening statement before questions.
Okay, let's hear the end here.
That's what happened tonight.
Any additional questions for Ben Myers?
And just on
freaking commercial.
Is this on the GPL one too?
Is this confusing you a little bit, this setup?
how nice for you guys was it to see a closer get in there for the third period? What did that mean to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, right as soon as we heard he was playing, everybody was up and we wanted to do everything for that kid. No, he's such a great teammate and everybody loves him, and just a real unfortunate spot for him to be put in there. And we were all trying to do our best for him.
And with Holloway, with the night he had with the goal and 5 assists, I mean, you just kind of tip your cap to him at some point?
Yeah, I'm not even gonna answer.
Got it.
I'm not even going to answer that.
Deutsch just right away steps in, goes, "Oh, and that's it for today."
Yeah, and that's why I cut it off, because I'm like, I'm not going to capture that, because Deutsch did jump right in, because I was cooking, I was making my breakfast. Remember, I was making the eggs and bacon. That's why I put
like you do.
I do, and what I did was, I just put myself off of video, so I could, I just put the old thing up, and I had that up and running, so I could just go and turn up the volume on the computer and keep listening as I'm cooking my eggs. And I'm not even going to answer that. I'm like, and then I heard Deutsch jump in. I'm like, oh shit, what happened?
Yep. I think there's a lot of hockey players out there who saw Voracek for Philadelphia go after one of the Philly reporters pretty vocally. I don't know if you've seen it. And
you mentioned, I didn't know what you were talking about at the time, and I was too busy trying to look up, hoping that Deutsch would post the video, which he did. So
yeah, but like a reporter said something like controversy, and the guy's like, "I can answer it any way you want. You're gonna write what you want anyway, you jackass." Just like you're an idiot. Okay, just write what you want to write. It's like, you don't care what I'm gonna say. You're gonna twist it however you want. Just do whatever. And you can just tell these college kids are just like, that would be fun to do. I'm just like, that's a bad idea, guy.
For Steve and Eric there, Jess is like that. He'll ask the questions, and boy, wasn't it when it was last season, I believe, wasn't it, Viggs, where Jess asked if who was out because of discipline?
Walker,
yes.
Walker, yeah.
And
Bob
Bob turns to him and goes, "Are you crazy?" Like, what the hell are you asking me that for? So Jess has been asking, he does that once in a while. It's becoming more prevalent.
It's a little comical for you and me. I don't know how comical it is for everybody else, but like every once in a while, Jess will just be like, "So, going to Olympic ice, you know, what's the advantage? Or going to an NHL sheet? Are you practicing on Ritter? Do you have an advantage?
Are you getting it Mo in there?
You were right. That was
this season, folks. He kept trying to bring up, are you going to get Mo in there? And he's like, Matsuko's was like, I don't know if you're trying to start a controversy, but there is no controversy here. I mean,
Yep. There's always a storyline or something that you could tell Jess wants to write, and he'll ask questions about it where Bob is just like, I'm not going there.
Are you crazy?
Throw the wrinkled nose up there. And
what a lot of you don't know is that the old Fiona Quick used to have credentials at the university, and Lucia was not a fan of Fiona Quick. Eventually he got her out of there, so she didn't show up. But boy, she would like latch onto players. Mr.
Evan
Kaufman. She would latch onto players, and well, how do you think Evan Kaufman did tonight? And Lucia would just kind of look at her and go, yeah, he was fine. But it was just the look on his face that he would give her, like, did you ask another stupid question? And funny, she stopped coming, or she stopped getting credentialed. I just don't ask questions. I would just stand there with my little video camera and record it. And once in a while I would say something, not ask a question, but start things off. But I usually just keep my mouth shut.
It was pretty funny. Saturday, Jess sent me a text. He's like, Figs, gonna need you to ask some questions Saturday. Hope you can make the Zoom. Because we didn't know what we were gonna get from Bob. You know, sometimes after a game like that, he can be pretty harsh and short answered. And he I don't know, he was okay this Saturday. You know, he's that veteran coach. You know, I'm just gonna wait 24 hours, look at the film, reassess things. We did not play well. You know, he's very veteran coachy with that press conference.
He did do the old, I was very disappointed though.
Yeah.
He at least did that.
Yeah. Like you know, you didn't play well. I don't know. It's interesting. I always listen to that coach's show to kind of get a vibe for how the week availability is going to go. Because you can kind of tell with how he talks to Wally on Monday, what kind of coach you're going to get on Wednesday.
But the thing is, a lot of times they're doing that like Sunday, aren't they?
No, they're usually doing it like Monday afternoon.
Okay. Yeah.
So they might have done it before the skating practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
After Bob
one thing I love it. I love it because you listen to the post game, and then you'll ask a question based off of something he answered because you're testing him to see if he changes the answer. But sometimes he calls you out by saying, "Oh, you must have been listening to the post game show."
Yeah. But, you know, sometimes you also want them to expound on something, you know, too. Like,
because, obviously they've got time constraints on the radio, but
yeah,
this
thing. So you're like, you said this about your defenseman. What do you mean by that? You know, or like you pointed the finger at the forwards in your radio post game. What actually do you mean by that? What specifically were you not happy with? Because I know you've already thought about it and you have comments to make. And you didn't give it on the radio, but I'll give you a chance to elucidate it in the Zoom. You know, that's fun for me to be able to do that. And that's a little bit different when you're covering it this way. You can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I must say, I do like the Zoom thing. I've told Deutsch this too. I'm like, I can't make it during the week for availability. And I just missed it today because I was just too busy. But you worked down at the U, or at least you know. You were when there was no COVID, so you could, you know, take a lunch break or take a break and go over there and check it out. I actually love this Zoom thing, but I've also liked, you know, the kind of access we get because Deutsch makes these videos available. I could quickly edit them together, put them out on the internet for people to see. Or previously, when we had post game, I could just sit there and stream Twitter, Periscope, and people could see it live. And that's just something we didn't have in previous years. People are always going off of what the quotes they saw in the paper the next day.
I would have really liked to have been there on Monday.
To see the practice.
And in a normal year,
You could have.
bet your lunch money I would have been there. I would have wanted to take a seat, maybe in section 13 right at the top, or maybe over if they're at Ritter. They probably
We see you, Vigo.
They're probably at Mariucci on the 200 by 100 doing
Extra room to
backs.
skate.
Yeah, extra room to skate on the big ice. But I would have wanted to see what it was like. And I don't think Bob would kick you out. He's like, yeah, you're here enough. You can see it. I'm not hiding anything. I would have been there too. I showed up a couple times the last 2 years when they had a game like that, like the North Dakota game last year. I showed up on Monday, and he threw that one away. They went into like a skills offensive practice right away, try to have fun, try to put it behind them. But that's a different team.
And they did play better the second night than they did the first night.
Yep, they had already paid the price.
Yeah,
they came back. And
this one they
bell.
played not terrible, not great, but then it just went way worse.
Yeah.
Who knows, kid? Who knows?
We'll know this weekend. They do publish the scores and they televise the games.
Maybe that's why they're just waiting to see how the team does, and then let's not show those Michigan games on TV.
No, they'll play those games.
You would think the Big Ten would want if Michigan could easily sweep this weekend.
Michigan could sweep.
They've got the skill. They're kind of up and down, but if they're up, Wisconsin has their hands full. And they could easily get right back into it, and they played 2 less games.
Yeah. I think this was a weekend for the rest of college hockey to realize when you're out there against Caulfield and Holloway, you can't play normal. You got to play cautious and keep it low scoring with them. Make it a special teams battle where you get power plays and they don't.
And take advantage of take advantage of the situations when they're there.
Take advantage of situations there. Take advantage of your depth. Maybe match lines. Like, looking back on it, if I was coaching against Wisconsin, I would put a checking line on Caulfield. I would put players out there who don't give him turnovers to go the other way. I mean, if I put out Jackson Nelson and Sorensen and Perbix against them, those guys aren't going to give easy pucks. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you've got last change at home. All of a sudden, you've neutralized Caulfield. Then you put out, Walker, McLaughlin, and McManus or Burke against Holloway. Then maybe he's not as dynamic against them because he's playing defense. But I know certain coaches hate matching lines, but man,
yeah,
that's an opportunity to match lines because they've got one player who's like one of the best scorers in college hockey. He's leading the country in scoring. Don't let him get that chance.
So, Corey, you asked if you missed anything with the Michigan. You didn't really miss anything with the Michigan series. We were just talking about how we don't have game time set yet for that. We don't know what the TV is for that yet. And really, like we just mentioned, Michigan's all over the place. If they're on their game, they can take anybody out without trouble.
They have more talent than Wisconsin.
That's just it. And I think Michigan is very similar to a Wisconsin team from like last year. They've just been more successful. Wisconsin just couldn't get it together with all the talent they had.
And they had players looking at pro contracts like Keandre Miller and numerous others.
Whereas Michigan's done better at getting victories out of those freshmen and young players.
It helps that they have Cam York. He's very steady.
Yeah.
Wisconsin didn't have a Cam York last year. They don't have one this year. Owen Power, also really talented. Probably a top 3 pick. And then you put it with Johnson and Brisson and some of the older guys like Pastjov, and they're a good team.
So anyway, so Wisconsin's going into Michigan this weekend. If there's a sweep by Michigan there, and let's say Minnesota and Notre Dame split, or let's just look at the standings here. If Notre Dame sweeps Minnesota, they're tied with us with 33 points. With the Badgers potential getting swept by Michigan, that just causes chaos. That would put, 3 teams within 1 point of first place, with Michigan just a few points back with 2 games in hand. So it could get interesting real quick. And then, Penn State's been playing better, Vigs.
Yep, they've been playing better. It's also they've been playing against the not so good teams.
True, but
you never know.
After the way they started, so
yeah, they could get it going.
So depending, let's say Wisconsin sweeps this weekend and Minnesota gets swept, Wisconsin could just pull right away. But we've seen over these past few years, Vigs, that we can't predict, and it always ends up being close at the end.
Well, these teams all have enough talent where they can be close.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things with the Big Ten. There's a lot of talent, a lot of coaching, a lot of facilities, a lot of money, a lot of development. They're going to be more even. It's just the way it is. I didn't notice that the Wisconsin Michigan series is Saturday, Sunday, and it's 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock. So watch those games.
Is that Eastern?
Eastern. It's 2 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Eastern. So 1 and 4. So watch those on Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
How about that for a doubleheader, huh?
CHN has not updated their app. Shocking.
Okay. That's going to be a good doubleheader. What? Wisconsin,
CHN has
and the Gophers?
CHN has it Friday, Saturday at 11 p.m. both nights. CHN has really been struggling with their app this year.
They don't care about the West. I listen to their podcast.
Eastern bias.
Eastern bias. Adam Woden. He's also politically biased too. He's not afraid to throw that out there.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm just looking at the schedule here. How about Minnesota State and their goalie? Jesus.
It's good. Schedule though too.
Schedule, but still.
It's still good.
The kid putting up how many shutouts?
Yeah.
You getting close to Ryan Miller's record now?
He's got to be close. I think part of it, that's a team that's old and they recognize when he's got a shutout opportunity and they just play for it.
Hi.
Respect.
That's kind of refreshing.
It is refreshing. There was a certain player on the Gopher roster who turned the puck over and cost Laffer one of his shutouts. He's got a 2 in his jersey number. Maybe 2 of them. Yeah, that's Brodzinski.
I thought you were going. You said a 2 at first. I'm like, Lacombe. Lacomb's has done his dumb things.
He's done his dumb things, but not.
But recently, he's been doing a lot better. Actually.
Oh, he's an up and down player. He was a forward in high school.
I'm out of focus here. What the hell?
Yeah, that's a Brodzinski turnover, and once again, Bob called him out on it.
He has no problems calling out Brodzinski.
He has no problems calling out Brodzinski. He's worked with enough Brodzinskis where he's not afraid to do it.
Oh, boy. How's the beverage going down, Vigs?
It's pretty good. It's got a little bit of a Pilsner taste to it, which I wasn't expecting. So it's probably the first beer I've had from Portage where it's a little bit of a letdown.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. Everything else I've had from them, I've loved. This one could use a little more oomph to it in the mash bill.
What are
the
your
hops
thoughts?
are good. The hops are good, but
what are your thoughts on a possible St. Louis team coming in here?
I have no idea.
They've got a female team.
Yeah.
What's it? Was it starts with an L?
Lindenwood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where do they go?
CCHA? I have no idea.
I guess it's like
I don't know where they'd go. But maybe they're just an Atlantic hockey team. They just go there.
Because I mean, we had our New York team come out of nowhere and start up a program, and they're playing, and everyone's like, "What?" And like Illinois can't figure it out. Like some tiny little New York university can figure it out. I don't know.
Yes, Mike Senior's a handful. And yes, pretty good as Minnesotan for I probably wouldn't buy this specific brew again. So yes. To the chat. Mike's also a very friendly guy. So
Really?
yeah, he's a talker.
You know, he hates the U, or at least he did.
Well, he's got two sons who've gone here, so
I know,
two that
but
went to St. Cloud.
You know, how tough was that when his first kid came here?
Yeah,
that must have been
that was
tough.
awkward
because he had said a lot of bad things about the U before that. So, and all of a sudden his kid wants to go. He's like, "Damn it, kid! It's always my kids causing me the most trouble."
Yeah,
because like you said, he's a talker.
Mm-hmm. He's gonna let you know how he feels. We disagree on all kinds of things, but it's fine.
What's better, him or Noterman? Noterman used to go on the message boards and just cause trouble.
Yeah, that's okay. I think Brodzinski's, I mean, on hockey stuff, he's fine. So
yeah. Don't be a crazy parent, people. That includes you, Viggs. Don't be a crazy hockey parent.
Hey, I'm having a hard enough time coaching my mite, so it's tough when the mite gets fatigued and emotional. It's really hard. Coach has got to skate away and go to another group, or sometimes kick somebody out of a certain group and send them to another group. You know,
oh boy,
that's what you got to do.
Yeah,
but
parents, no, thank you.
Yeah, luckily when I coached high school football and high school hockey, I didn't have to deal with parents at all. I could just coach, and it was just awesome. So that was fun. I don't really have to deal with parents too much right now. Kids just learning how to play the game.
Is it still a lot of, I don't even know about how it is at that level. Is there still a lot of like herd mentality, herd following the puck?
Well, we try to
or is it a little better?
It's better because we put less kids in each game. So there's only 4 kids in the game. So, you know, usually 3 are around the puck and 1's kind of loose. And then they kind of figure it out from there. And when you get bigger games, or you kind of design your game so that you can have 2 pucks or whatever. So they spread out. So it's mostly about the ABCs of coordination and balance. So we're doing the long-term athlete development model.
Play multiple sports, please.
Please play multiple sports. Please don't get burned out. Like even my kid who loves hockey, he's like, how many more weeks of this do we have? He loves hockey. He will watch an entire Gopher hockey game with me. He will do a shot chart. He will write down like the penalties and like I've told him about scoring chances now, and he tries to keep track of those.
You know, Rob Scheel is not getting any younger.
We might have Rob's replacement.
We might have to get Mini Viggs.
He'll read Deutsch's game notes and look for typos. It's awesome to send Deutsch a note.
That's my boy.
My 8-year-old found this typo in your game notes. Might want to update that.
Oh God. Talk about grumpy Deutsch right there.
He's a little grumpy after that.
Wow. Yeah, get him on the stats. And, Penn State, haven't really watched that. Tell them what, hey, that wasn't a shot on goal. Let's see if it gets added.
Yeah. Watch when we come out from the TV timeout, how many shots get added.
When I used to go to games at Duluth, I would see something similar. Not as bad as Penn State, but Duluth was also very shot friendly. At least back in the late deck, early Amsoil days.
Hey, we got Drew Cove listening, apparently. Hi, Drew.
What's up, Cove? Kid. Hey,
Good kid.
I
he's getting
I
older.
mi-
He's got a little ski bunny with him these days. I've seen some Instagram photos of him and a young lady taking to the slopes.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, I miss his post game videos on Periscope. He did one this year, and the goal is always to try to trip him up. We watch live, start making comments. We've gotten him tripped up a couple times, and it's fun. And now my girlfriend and I will sit there and watch. Like, okay, let's get Drew going. Let's get Drew going, and we just laugh. She's like, "Oh, yeah, that's the young man." And like, "Yep, that's him."
Yeah. Good young kid. Trying to cover this pandemic wild team over at the new mini ice site.
Wild, what the hell, dude? And it sounds like guys aren't they're not asymptomatic either. They're symptomatic. Maybe not severe, but they're symptomatic.
Right. It's enough for it to worry for some of those guys. So, and then especially with the Marco Rossi situation, the long hauler symptoms, not a joke. There we go. We got Drew on there. It's in the chat now.
Yeah, there he is.
Oh, showing up.
Drew, we should just do a big live post-game stream one day. Get all our grievances out. Get Drew on there.
I don't know if I can handle that. I usually got duties after the game, so I have to quick run upstairs.
Well, my problem was last weekend I
put away
drank
the
Friday
clan.
night. I drank Friday night last week. Came to Saturday. I'm like, "Are you gonna drink?" I'm like, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. I don't know. Yeah, Drew's in. He wants to do post game. One of these days we'll do post game. It's too bad. It's too bad we can't just hit live stream on Deutsche's Zoom feed.
for our little
Have him join our meeting.
right.
He could set it up so we could record, but he doesn't. He would have to go some settings. He didn't realize what settings he needed to do.
He probably doesn't want to allow that.
Yeah.
He might make you think that he doesn't know how.
And Drew, I think Periscope's going bye-bye. It's just you're just video from Twitter now. It's not even Periscope. You don't need Periscope anymore. Plus, we got the Zoom thing. It's a lot easier.
You're so hip, Cotner.
I'm not hip. I'm just, yeah. You say I'm hip. You get me on this Instagram thing, and boy,
it?
No,
It's
just a lot of shit.
It is a lot of.
I'm like, I want to scroll to see the things I subscribe to. And most of the time I'm through it, like, I try to turn off things that I don't want to see, and they still keep coming back.
I do wonder what algorithm makes you think I want to check out that reel.
Okay.
What demographic am I in?
Apparently he wants me to follow Jared Klein. Sorry, Jared. I hardly follow anybody. Okay. Suggested posts. Can you shut that off? I thought I did. I don't need suggested posts. I just want to see the posts I want to see. So that's the problem. I don't need to see all this crap.
Sorry. Did you see my dinner on there tonight? It's pretty nice.
Oh, let me scroll. See, and that's just it. Well, do I have to hit your story?
I put it on the story.
And there's your kids.
Yeah.
They're growing big. Is that green? That's green beans. Okay. Oh, dang it. I don't like it. It goes too fast.
You gotta hold it down. You gotta hold it down. Put your thumb on it.
Yeah. Okay. So
No, it doesn't.
is that it looks like a steak maybe?
It's a pork chop. I've got a caption on there, I think.
Oh yeah. Sage brown butter. Apple. No, thanks.
Oh, yeah.
I hate sweet potatoes too. Sorry. And
Man.
I'm not big on green beans. Pork chop I'll eat. Give me some pork chops and apple-chops. That's for all you old people there. Pork chops and apple-chops. Eric Brever will get that joke if he's still watching live. Pork chops and apple-chops.
I think we're digressing. I'm out of my brief escape. I'm back to reality. I'm going to give Portage another shot with something else. Everything else I've had from them is good. This one, little thin, little Pilsner malt characteristic to it, which is not my style.
I'm just not a beer person, so none of it's my style.
Yep. Well, maybe I'll go to a whiskey on Saturday or Sunday or Friday or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Jay Carver keeps putting out new whiskeys almost every day. It seems like they've got a
I
new
think
one
that's kind of the thing
aged,
now.
It's like they've aged one that's like 4 years in the barrel or something like that.
I think I've got a whiskey for you next time I see you.
Really?
Yeah. You'll like
I think we need another road trip to Duluth.
I definitely need another road trip to Duluth. One of my connections from the U of M golf course took up an assistant pro job up there.
Yeah.
And, he's a really good dude. So I'm looking forward to going up there. He said they put in a TrackMan bay at their clubhouse, and he brought it up to a couple of members, and like within a week they raised the money to do it.
So what is that?
So TrackMan is like radar.
Yeah.
So you're like in a hitting bay.
Yeah.
And it calculates the radar of your launch, spin, angle, ball speed, and it can calculate like everything with a golf ball like that. And so by the time it hits the net, they know where it's going. And so
except when you top the ball like I do.
They would show it at top. They'd be like,
you're a dumbass.
You had an impact of 80 miles an hour, ball speed of 60 miles an hour, top spin, 4,000 RPMs, launch angle, 2 degrees. Like it would figure all that stuff out.
For me, I could get a hold of a ball, but it's going to come back and say, yeah, it's going 2 holes over because it's just going to go.
Yeah, it'd be like 8,000 RPM side spin. It figures all this out just like that.
Oh boy.
So it's super advanced. Like you'll see in the PGA Tour on the driving range, there's all these pro golfers. They bring their own TrackMan to the range, and they cost like $70,000 to set up.
Jeez.
Maybe $50,000 for the actual TrackMan. But like to set up.
But are they even paying for it? They're probably getting it free.
Half of them probably have to pay for it. Like, because half of the people on the PGA Tour do not stay on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, that's true.
They get replaced in a year. So anyway, I love going to Duluth.
Yeah,
lots of good reasons. Good town.
When is the Gophers playing there? Do we know? We're not going to know.
Maybe it open next season in front of fans. Team vaccine.
Oh, they can't though, can they? We already pulled out of the tournament. The tournament got pushed out a year. Minnesota already had another commitment, if I recall. So they're not going to be in the tournament next year.
It could all change.
It could all change but I remember that release saying we wanted to, but we already had another commitment for that weekend. So Minnesota's playing somebody.
Could all change next year. You never know.
Hey, maybe we're going to Arizona State next year.
I think they're supposed to, based on the way this year worked out and the way the coaches are talking about it off the record, kind of deal.
Let's go.
Well, part of the agreement is we're all supposed to go there at some point.
Yeah.
Like next February, Super Bowl weekend. Let's go to Arizona. We had a nice little Super Bowl party here. So,
oh man, we're getting together with P Join. We're getting together with Bacardi. Oh, we're road tripping it, man.
Great.
We'll have an old school Rube's hockey podcast. All right, Viggs, I'm going to throw this up on the internet and release the old podcast here. Call it a night.
All right. Thanks for everyone for tuning in live.
We still have 21 people watching.
I hope we pick a better rear next week. I'm sure we will. I don't know if the raindrops is going to make it that long, but I'll get 3 new options. See if I get more than 13 votes.
I didn't vote because I didn't know what any of it was.
It's okay.
I'm not going to do a stupid vote if I'm not knowledgeable.
It's not your fault.
Yeah, it's just I'm not a beer guy. That's just the way it is.
You're not a poll voter for the USCHO poll or the.
No. Yeah, we don't know what the contract is with UND. We're guessing contracts are all goofed. Maybe it is push it back a year, so maybe we're going to UND next year. We don't know exactly, but that's where you're guessing it. Everything just kind of went out 1 year. We don't know that for sure.
Yeah, all the contracts have clauses in them. I've got copies of them. I've got copies of them where, like, I knew the classic this year for the teams that the U didn't want me to announce, so I didn't announce it. But
so is there going to be a classic next year? Does it just get shifted out a year?
I don't know. They all have clauses in it that say like act of God or whatever, could influence the contract, and it could be up to the schools to agree to push it out or to make it null and void. It's got that kind of language in it where it's flexible.
Well, I'm thinking it's going to be tough because maybe some contracts that need to be played. But so it's either you shift out a year, or let's say maybe with like UND, instead of shifting it out a year, you take that last year and put it to the end of the contract. So there's always that too.
Yeah, it's not as bad as football where they plan out like a decade.
That's weird. That's just
like, in 2032, we'll play Notre Dame in Ireland. It's okay. Who will be playing?
And then we're going to cancel our game with North Carolina because we were too afraid to play with them. It's going to cost us $400,000.
Hey, they've got it going on there. Mac Brown got it figured out. All right,
kid. You have a good one.
You too. Stay warm. Don't let your furnace go out this weekend.
I got it fixed. It's all good.
Okay, it could break again. Those furnaces
no. It was just a little sensor. I just needed to clean. I'm good. I should have known it was my own fault. So,